Into Jordan. Here's Michael at the foul line. A shot on Elo. Good! The Bulls win! They win!
Where nothing is held back.
Go crazy, folks! Go crazy!
Where nothing is censored.
He did what?
Where nothing is off limits.
She is gone!
Where anything goes. This is Snowman Unfiltered.
Holy Toledo, what a way to finish!
And here's your host, Brian Snow.
Hey y'all, Snowman back for another episode of Snowman Unfiltered, and I hope that you enjoy this one. I promised I'd give the reason why last week's episode came out on Friday instead of Wednesday. Well, the reason's pretty simple. I have relocated. I'm in North Carolina, right down the way from Durham. But let's get to this week's guest. Jason Feirman of Root 4 Sports joins me right now. Take a listen. All right. Now, I have a very special guest because he's been a special friend to me since I met him 4 years ago. He is the man in charge of Root 4 Sports. And when he originally appeared on Snowman in the Morning, it was only supposed to be for 10 minutes. Well, 30 minutes later, a 4-year friendship has formed, and every time I have him on, it's a wonderful time. Help me welcome Jason Feirman of Root 4 Sports, and he joins me right now. What's up, brother?
My man, thank you for that intro right there, and every word of it is true, bro. We hit it off right away, and it was a beautiful match made in football heaven. That's exactly what it was.
And you know what's wild? One of my original producers of my show, Dean Peretta, a mutual friend of both of ours,
yes.
You know, he wanted us, to go only 10 minutes, but when he listened and he heard what we were doing, he said, keep going. Well, every time I have you on, it's a thrill and a joy and an honor, so welcome.
Oh, well, hey, man, I'm telling you, the feeling is mutual. I'm looking forward to getting you on my show soon, maybe in a few weeks. But, yeah, man, listen, every time we talk, it's a lot of fun. I always hang up with a smile on my face. Every time, my man.
Tell me about Root 4 Sports. Tell me how you got that started.
Yeah, man, well, quick thing, long story short, it was a long time ago, about 2010. Just started as a blog, turned into more of a website, sponsors and stuff, because a lot of people started writing. I invited anybody to write, to, charge them or anything. They weren't looking to get paid, just looking to get some exposure. So that came along, and then a friend of mine said, wait, why don't we do a podcast? I'm like, that's great, because, writing so much is like, get so many more words out on a podcast. So it was born. It was beautiful. Lamont and I had a wonderful time doing it. Just scheduling conflicts got into the way. So as adults, people with kids, you had to move on. But Root 4 Sports was amazing, and now it has come back with a vengeance. It's great. The sports column, they're helping out a lot. That's the sportscolumn.com. They're doing a great job over there. They got my podcast going. I'm writing for them. So Root 4 Sports continues, my friend.
I love it. I've had a grand time every time I've had you on, and when I told you about this podcast and gave you the title, I could see the big old smile that crept across your face when I mentioned Snowman Unfiltered.
No doubt about it. No, you got it. It was all the way to North Carolina.
Yes, it did, man. So let's dive into some of this. Some stuff happened over the course of time which made me laugh. And I'm going to do it. Some people are going to get mad at me, but I don't care. But this past NBA playoff was the best playoff I've ever watched. And for a very selfish reason, no LeBron. I loved it.
Yeah, right? It absolutely made it wide open. It wasn't, okay,
Didn't
who's
it, though?
LeBron going to face this year? Absolutely. No doubt. And, know what? You're right. To touch on it real quick, that was some of the most exciting basketball, especially with what Kawhi was doing. It was just great basketball being played and team basketball being played. And yes, the fact that LeBron wasn't in there absolutely made it even more watchable, because it's like, okay, who's going to do it this time? Who's going to be around? So absolutely, I like that.
And you mentioned something that is so true. I think the NBA has finally figured out that it's all about team basketball, something the Spurs, the Bulls of the early 2010s, the Golden State Warriors, now the Toronto Raptors, the new champions, have figured out it's all about team basketball. It doesn't matter if you have a big three or a big four or whatever. If you play as a team, you win. And many people have asked me, the Warriors lost, because I am a Warrior fan, but I'm a fan of great basketball. They said the Warriors lost. How do you feel about that? I got no qualms with them losing to the better team, and Toronto was the better team, period.
Right. There you go. It is, again, a team. It is a team. There's, you got your tennis and your boxing, your individual, but this is a team. You got to rely on your other players, their strengths and weaknesses, and you hit it on the head. But again, with the San Antonio Spurs, beautiful basketball. The Celtics usually do it the right way. There are teams that come together. Like, think about the Detroit Pistons in 04.
Yes.
Who would have thought that they were going to beat Kobe and Shaq? They killed. They beat them.
They killed them. They absolutely killed them, and they killed them with their own weapon, defense.
That's right. That is right. Teams have forgotten, and you know what? I hope it does come back, because moving that basketball around is a beautiful thing. I love to see it.
Which brings me to this. All the hatred on the Golden State Warriors for this run, the same hatred the Spurs got, the same hatred the Bulls got, the same hatred the Celtics got, because they moved the basketball. And so many folks are saying this is the end of the Warriors dynasty. Don't be stupid.
That's right. That's right. I'm with you. I'm not one of the stupid ones. They still got plenty of good players, and they were winning before KD even got there. So, there you go.
It's mind-boggling to me that because the Warriors lost to the Raptors, who were the better team, everybody's saying, the dynasty's over. Klay's not going to be back until February. Kevin Durant left. Boogie Cousins left. And I'm going, they won before KD even got there. Now, KD enhanced them. Boogie Cousins enhanced them for the time that he's there. And I feel so sorry. Let's go here. I feel so sorry for Boogie Cousins with everything he's going through right now. Out for the season with another injury. He's got legal issues going on right now.
Right.
I mean, let's go off the board here. Yeah, you deal with stuff with your child's mother, but you don't threaten them like that. I don't think he did. I'm still waiting for more of the details to come out, but if there's one man you got to feel for right now, it's DeMarcus Cousins.
Yeah, man, that's just, what, again, from like a physical standpoint, staying away from everything else. I don't know all the details, but absolutely. And again, this guy was a top 10 basketball player just a couple of years ago. I mean, legit. He made the Sacramento Kings not a playoff team, but watchable at the very least. That's how dominating he was. He really was. And I want to go back to one thing you said before, again, about the team basketball and why team basketball does win. That's why James Harden and the Rockets are never going to win a championship in a billion years. Right. They have no idea what team basketball is. So they can have all the great athletes in the world. I don't care. Until you learn to play as a team, it's not going to happen. And defense, God forbid they tried that.
Yeah, and now they add Russell Westbrook to the mix, and everybody's picking him to finish second or third in the conference. My hot take is they ain't going to make the playoffs anyway with the team that they have constructed. And not only is it going to be the fault of James Harden and Russell Westbrook, people still seem to forget Mike D'Antoni's still the coach. Something wrong with this picture?
Exactly right. That guy knows offense, and that's it. He doesn't know anything about defense. I give him props on the offense, but forget about it. Ain't happening. Not that I want to get into that trade too much, but Russell Westbrook and Harden together is just like oil and vinegar. That makes no sense to me whatsoever.
None.
I really just don't get it. They play the exact same style of basketball. You think either one of them are going to pass to each other? I don't even see it happening.
Especially with the game on the line.
Right? Are you kidding me? Forget it. Gosh.
I know we're jumping all over this is why I love doing this podcast, because I'm all over the place with the folks that I have on, and we're going to have more great guests on here, and I love having Jason on. The LeBron MJ argument has been beat into the ground, and selfishly, I am one of the people who beat it into the ground because I got spoiled rotten with players like Julius Erving, James Worthy, Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Do I need to go on in that golden era? George Gervin.
You're hitting all the right ones. You're nailing it.
I mean, when you get spoiled by players of that caliber, and nothing against the Kobe Shaq era, nothing against the Sacramento Kings of 02, the Detroit Pistons of 04, nothing against the Spurs of late, nothing against them at all. But when you get spoiled rotten by the brand of basketball we saw from 1979 to 1998, your expectations are kind of through the roof, and you kind of get let down with what's being put out there now.
Right. You got a great point. Everybody said once Jordan retired, even the second time, that's it. Basketball's gone instead. Yeah, you're right. That was, and again, that was the era of the centers, the big man with Hakeem and Robinson. You had Ewing out there, then Shaq comes along, and even a guy like Rick Spitz was a good center.
Yes.
It was a different type of game back then. It really, really was. And now it's just more, give me the ball and let me fly.
Abdul-Jabbar, Rick Smits, Patrick Ewing, David Robinson, the Admiral. I know Tim Duncan was a forward, but he played center for part of the time. Let's go to some of the old school centers. Bill Laimbeer of the Detroit Pistons. He was one of the original stretch forward centers that could shoot the basketball.
Yeah, great call. That's a great call. You're exactly right. You're exactly right on that. And Worthy could do the same thing. He was
James
a big guy.
Absolutely. And I'll give you another player that a lot of people slept on, who he was picked by the Clippers, shined a little in Seattle, really blossomed when he got to Phoenix. Does the name Tom Chambers mean anything to you?
Oh, that's one that I haven't heard in a long time, and absolutely. I remember using him on NBA Live, I think it was in Sega Genesis, and I would just be popping him and popping him and popping him. Oh, yeah, that's right. Good call. Way to bring that up.
I mean, everyone sleeps on forwards like James Worthy. Everyone sleeps on forwards like Tom Chambers, as I mentioned, Xavier McDaniel with that great Seattle team back in the 80s. People slept on Charles Oakley for a long time before he got traded to the Knicks.
Man? I got to tell you, what it is? Everybody's so into what the prototypical athlete should look like. They should look like LeBron James with muscles bulging out everywhere. Right. That's what they're into. It doesn't mean that you're not an athlete just because you're a little bit heavier. I mean, look at, going off the topic again, look at MMA or UFC with boxing. Tyson Fury. He looks like a vanilla milkshake.
Right.
And the guy beats the crap out of people,
You want to know here's an athlete that you and I both love talking about that can be prototypical but isn't, but has a cerebral approach to the game. You're going to love this name. Do you know someone by the name of Andre Iguodala?
Oh my God, one of my favorites of all time. You can't get a better team basketball player than that. That guy is all about the team.
And as you said on my show, built like a brick shit house.
Yes, okay? That's right.
You said it on my show, and it's so true. I watched him play at Springfield Lamphere back home towards Chicago, played at University of Arizona, and is about to enter his 17th year in the league. Amazing. And I'm really hoping he ends up back with Golden State. I really do. But be that as it may, a guy built like that who's such a cerebral player, that's missing in sports. Let's take the NBA out of the equation. That's missing in sports right now.
That's a good call. That makes sense. Everybody's too much me. You're right about that. That's what it is. It comes down to being selfish and my numbers, and not only those numbers, but the dollar sign that comes before those numbers. No doubt about it. I agree.
And then there's this drama. Antonio Brown signed with the Raiders and then was released before he even played a regular season game. How stupid can one player be to challenge the authority that's paying you millions of dollars to do something you love?
So, no, I can't. He got exactly what he wanted. He wanted out of Pittsburgh. He went to the Raiders, to me, who were a perfect team for him. He was, the talk of the town. He's like, this is my team. And, of course, we all know his ego. That got way in the way of everything. But he got everything he wanted, this huge contract. Ain't complaining about the helmets, your foot. I understand, you know what? That does happen. Accidents happen. But always complaining, and we thought that Zeke was going to take up the entire offseason talk, but Antonio Brown demolished him in that one.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
And Zeke got paid. Okay, 6 years, 90 million. Should be a little more. As much as I pick on the fans of the Cowboys, I know for a fact that Zeke is one hell of a running back, okay?
Oh, yeah.
Zeke brings back
fantastic.
Emmitt Smith days. Now, he has to stay healthy, and he has to continue to produce, all right? But
True.
Antonio Brown got everything he wanted, new team, new teammates, new system, and then his ego got in the way. Him being a diva got in the way. And I said on my show, and you listened to one of my shows back in April, when Antonio Brown signed with the Raiders, I said he wouldn't play a game with them. Guess what, folks?
Hey, look at you. Look at you. How about that? You're the real prophet over there, the sports prophet. Like that.
And what's wild, people thought I was crazy when I said that. I was like, oh, he's going to play his entire... No, he won't, because his ego is going to get in the way. And it got in the way. Which brings me to this. Why do some of these players, Antonio Brown, James Harden, Russell Westbrook, these me kind of players, as you mentioned earlier, why do they let their egos get in the way instead of just doing what they love to do and get paid for it?
Yeah, you're so right. I don't know what it is. Sometimes, background does have something to do with it, maybe where you grew up and you were nothing then, and now all of a sudden you're this big-time star, so maybe that brings out something in you didn't have before, but there's really no rhyme or reason for it. You're a professional. It's not like this guy's 22, 21 years old, all right? He's, 29, 30 now, or whatever it is?
Yeah, 30.
So, I mean, listen, you should be mature at that point. We reach our maturity level around 25, 26.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at 30 years old, come on, you can't be acting like this. I mean, you're acting like a kid. It's like, I'm taking my ball and I'm leaving. I don't get it.
Right.
I really don't get it. And listen, you know what? I don't have any ill will toward the guy in any other way except for what's happening here and what's going on. Two things I'll mention. One, when you get almost $30 million taken away from you by your team, I can understand a crazy reaction like that.
Yeah.
I'm sure they could have sat down and talked about a few things to fix it. But, I mean, this guy's like, oh, forget that. I'm out of here. I'm done. And, it's really just too bad for somebody who was looked in the eyes at by everybody as this is one of the guys who's going to go down in the top 5 wide receiver of all time. Like T.O., he may not even be in the Hall of Fame now.
Right. And you know who really touted him over the course of the offseason before he signed with the Raiders? The greatest receiver of all time, Mr. Jerry Rice.
Yeah, how about that, right?
When you're
Jerry
touted
Rice
by the greatest receivers who ever play the game, and you turn down that team, and I'm willing to guess why. There's a lot of structure being put in place in San Francisco, just like they had it back in the day with Bill Walsh and George Seifert after that, and Steve Mariucci after that. He would not have liked that at all.
Yep,
because he
point.
would have had to be a team player for the money they eventually would have had to pay him. So the 49ers saw that and said, nope, we're out. We're not dealing with it.
And I'm smart, and I'm really happy that they did that. As much as I loved T.O., to me was the best wide receiver in the game at the time. He was there neck and neck with Randy Moss, obviously, but I'm glad. Couldn't take it anymore. I'm like, listen, I don't want this on my team. The teammates couldn't take it anymore. If we're looking at it and we can't stand it, could you imagine what they're thinking in the locker room? So,
right.
I mean, come on. But they're glad to see him go. They are. They're happy to see him go. And not for nothing, the other thing I wanted to say is, and I don't wish any ill will upon anyone, but he needs to learn a lesson. And I hope that nobody picks him up. I hope that he does not play at all this year.
Yep. And I think Antonio Brown, as far as the NFL is concerned, is done. And his attitude got him out. His skills brought him into the league, and his attitude kicked him out of the league.
Really did.
Antonio Brown is done as far as playing in the NFL is concerned, and I hope every team turns their back on him until Antonio Brown learns that you have to be a teammate. No matter how great you are individually, you have to be a teammate. It is a team sport.
That's right. And the last thing I want to say about this issue, because I know we got a few more things to talk about, but don't compare Antonio, not you, but people listening, don't compare Antonio Brown to Josh Gordon, where he's getting, his chances, second, third, whatever it may be. He's not out there doing the braggadocious, ridiculous nonsense that Antonio Brown has been doing, like that. Again, having that YouTube conversation that he recorded with John Gruden, and then having racial tones, during practice with Mike Mayock wanting to fight the guy. I mean, it just all sorts of ridiculous. But, that's his problem. Josh Gordon is a guy who seems to actually have a real, physical problem, and he's doing everything the right way to try to get back on the field and get rid of this. So I don't want people to compare the two. As in, why can't Antonio Brown get second, third, fourth chances? It's not the same.
It really isn't the same. And speaking of second chances, I made a point on my last podcast to people who asked me, and yes, we're going to get into the Jay-Z deal, folks, because I've had so many opinions on this. Oh yeah, I have to go there. This is unfiltered.
No doubt. Can't wait to hear it.
I said on my last podcast, and I will say it here, the reason Colin Kaepernick doesn't have a job in the NFL is because Colin Kaepernick no longer can play a number one quarterback in the NFL. That's a straight judgment on his abilities on the field, which by the time 2016 appeared, regressed. And what people don't want to look up is the fact that every single year except one, he was sacked at least 35 times in the NFL. No one wants to point that out. No one also wants to point out, yeah, he may have had single-digit interceptions his last year in the league, but A, he was supplanted by Brian Hoyer, who threw a game-winning touchdown pass against the Chicago Bears a year prior, and secondly, he didn't use all of his tools, namely his legs. He thought he could instantly become a pocket passer, and he couldn't read defenses well by the time he got out of the league. And oh, by the way, he opted out of his contract with a year remaining.
That's right. I think a lot of people don't know that or have forgotten that he did opt out of his contract. And if they want to call it that they blackballed him in the league, whatever it may be, there was arguments at the time that he could be a worst third, second string quarterback. But you're right, and don't forget, I'm a 49er fan, so I've watched all of his games.
Yep.
And I don't want to call him a one-year wonder. I don't want to do that, but that's what it was like. When he got in there, he brought the read option to the 49ers, and defenses did not know what the hell to do with it, and he ran it perfectly. And he had a very good arm, and things were working out at that time. But you're right. When he came back, he was a shell of himself the next year. Total shell of himself. So he really was a one-hit wonder.
In 2013, he had one good game, and that was opening day against Green Bay at Candlestick Park.
Right.
When he threw for 412 yards. Yep, he threw for 412 yards. Outdueled Aaron Rodgers, and at that time, even and I'm a 49er fan, been that way since the days of Montana, even I anointed him the next great 49er quarterback because of the tools he could bring. Here's the problem, folks, with Colin Kaepernick, and it's nothing to do with his protest, and I don't think his protest got him kicked out of the league. The fact that he couldn't play got him kicked out of the league, and he opted out with a year left on his contract. So he decided to make some noise for some social justice. My opinion is this. I think that noise for social justice was a cloud cover because he couldn't play anymore.
Very bad. It's not a bad argument at all. One that I haven't heard that before. That's pretty good, and I can get on board with something like that. No, I could definitely think that way. Maybe he truly wasn't even into it anymore. Maybe he didn't even want to play football, or maybe, like you said, maybe he knew. He's like, I don't really got it. I don't think I can do it for a full season anymore. I'm getting banged up. But like you said, he got sacked 35 times that year. So, yeah, I can totally understand that. That's a very high possibility. So, yeah, again, this is going back to, 3 or 4 years already? This saga has got to end.
It's got to end. And plus, he took a settlement from the NFL for his supposed collusion lawsuit. He got a deal with Nike to be their spokesperson, so he ain't hurting for money. So why do people still want to say, Colin Kaepernick's being blackballed from the league? Okay, here are the facts. Colin Kaepernick opted out of his contract with a year remaining. He had offers in place, and he turned them down.
He turned them down. Like you said, he turned them down. So obviously he's got something else on his mind. And you know what? If part of that, if all of that, whatever, however much of it is with him kneeling, and if his message again is against, again, black men with police brutality and things like that, I'm all for it. Go. Do your thing. Do it peacefully. He hasn't done anything violent, so I don't have a problem with him there. Do it peacefully. That's perfectly fine with me. But when guys like Eric Reed take it to another level and start bad-mouthing anybody who says anything good about Jay-Z and what he's doing, or even anything else for that matter, Eric Reed, another former 49er, best friends with Kaepernick, who went over to Carolina, he's taking it to a different kind of level. So you got to know where your boundaries are a little bit.
And here is another boundary that a lot of people won't look at. Eric Reed is still playing in the NFL.
That's right. He didn't get right. If Kaepernick was going to get blackballed, then Eric Reed was going to get blackballed. So there you go.
Easy. Eric Reed should, if you want to look at the blackball argument, Eric Reed should have been blackballed and can still be blackballed because of all the things negative that he said about the deal with Jay-Z, and we'll get that in a moment, about the NFL. Eric Reed, newsflash, you're still playing for the NFL. You're still playing for the Carolina Panthers. Yeah, you may be good friends. You may be best friends with Colin Kaepernick, but Colin Kaepernick played himself out of the NFL. You're still playing.
There you go. That's very well said, man. I'm giving you a round of applause over here in the background. You did a good job on that one. That was very, very well said and in depth, that people really either don't want to go there or don't even think to go there. So that's very smart on your part, bro.
And while we're talking about Jay-Z and his deal with the NFL, the outcries from the black community have made me laugh a ton. Why, you ask? Because he told, according to reports, he told Jermaine Dupri not to take a performance gig with the NFL. Listen to me carefully, folks. He told Jermaine Dupri not to take a performance gig with the NFL. That was a year ago. Now Jay-Z has positioned himself, checkmate if you want to relay it to a game. He's positioned himself to be an owner and really make an impact. So a lot of these people in the black community, and I'm going all the way there as a black man, but let's just speak truth here.
Sure.
If you want to say that Jay-Z is a sellout and Jay-Z is a coon, go right ahead. Here's the point. He's putting money in his pocket, and you ain't.
I like that. You ain't. That's very good. That's good. And, again, that's people looking through, different colored glasses, no pun intended with that right there, obviously. But what is he doing wrong? Again, like you said, he's putting more money in people's pockets. He's trying to help out the league in general, which is predominantly African American.
Yes, it is.
I'm not really understanding what the issue is. Jay-Z is an extremely smart businessman, so I'm not going to say that he's doing it just to be a good guy. Of course he's getting money. That's what people do. They get paid sometimes, especially if you're doing wonderful things like this. And you just got to look at that and love it. And you know what? I don't know why things like this get more exposure than what a guy like Steph Curry did, which was basically open a brand new sports department over at Howard, I believe it was, for a college team. Mm-hmm. I mean, why aren't we talking about that every day? Why? Because it's good. We love to talk about bad stuff.
Exactly. And what Stephen Curry did, and thank you for that wonderful point, what Stephen Curry did is a wonderful thing. What Jay-Z did is a wonderful thing. And listen up, black people. These are wonderful things being done for the community. You want some community action? You just got two megastars who just did the darn thing and should give us a clue. Those of us who don't have billions of dollars yet, we're working on it. I know I'm definitely working on it. I'm going all the way there. It should give us a clue that you can start in your own backyard.
Right. I love it. I love it. I absolutely love it. That's right. Start in your community. More people move on, and it goes out widespread.
It really does.
It does. It really does. If we could just breathe a little bit more of that, use the word love, whatever you want to call it. That's what it should be. I don't know why people are hating so much on whether
because people love being in the mire of shit. That's exactly it. People love being in the mire of shit instead of looking at the positive, something my wonderful wife has taught me, especially when we made this move to North Carolina.
Lucky mom.
we have gotten some crazy looks. And for those of you who don't know, my wife is white. I am not. Okay? So when we were packing and leaving Terre Haute, we've gotten some crazy looks and got even more the first date that my wife and I had here in North Carolina. Okay? So you want to talk about we laugh at it. Joni and I laugh at it on a daily basis because it's like, okay, we're still together. What the hell are y'all doing?
Right. Yeah, right, exactly right. You guys are doing good, and you're both human beings. So, big freaking deal. Who cares? It bothers me. You know what? And sometimes I'll be watching TV with a group of people, whether it's at a party and a commercial comes on, and then maybe a black man and a white woman who are, in bed making a commercial for sheets or something like that, or a new comforter or whatever it may be. And sometimes I look at people, it's like, oh, that's weird. It's like, no, it isn't. It's not freaking weird. What are you talking about? I was with a black female for 5 years, and I had a great time with her.
There you go.
Right, things happen, but come on, man. It's ridiculous.
Men like who they like, okay? Let's just say it. Men like who they like, and women like who they like, okay?
Well, we all got our preferences.
I never looked at race when I started dating. I never did. When Jody came along a year and a half ago, almost a year, I can't believe it's almost a year and a half. When Jody came along almost a year and a half ago, did I care about color? No. The fact that when I called her and I heard her laugh and I saw her smile through the phone, that sold me right there.
There you go. That's it. That's what it's all about. That connection is real. It's a real thing. It doesn't matter what color it is. So, I just wish more people thought like us, man. It'd be a happier world. It really would be.
It really would be. And it would be a smarter world also when people start thinking for themselves.
Yes. Oh, well done. That's why I always say people who join, I don't mean like join groups necessarily, but join in on the crowd, they're stupid. But if they think for themselves, like you just said, and sat back for a minute and be like, well, this sounds kind of dumb, actually. They would be smart. Exactly. That's smart. A person is smart. People are stupid. That's exactly what it is.
Yep. And
pathetic.
You've lived it. I've lived it. We continue to live it on a daily basis. My sister, who I reconnected with recently and I thought was against me after all the stuff went down with my daughter, and I've spoken about that on the show. As it turns out, my sister wasn't against me at all. We had a nice hour and a half long talk before my wife and I went on a trip, and my sister basically said, I don't care if your daughter's biracial. That was your daughter. She had your smile.
There you go.
And I'm sitting there crying. All right? I'm sitting there crying because I thought I lost my sister, and it's like, she said, I don't care who the hell you love, man. You're my brother. And if they love you, then I love them. I said, that's what I'm talking about.
That's how it should be, man. That's how it should be. Really, I hope a lot of people listen to this right now, because you got a white man and a black man speaking. We both been with the opposite color as well.
Yep.
Listen, guys, come on. Let's get it together, all right?
Please, let's get it together.
Please, let's freaking get it. It's been too long already. It's been too long.
Way too long. Way too long.
Man.
And if you want to look at it from that standpoint, you just said something that would turn a lot of heads in a negative sense, but since it's sports related, it won't be. A white man and a black man speaking together on a podcast about racial issues and how to solve them.
Yes, right. Not arguing about it or saying, well, how about this point? Right, we're trying to solve it. People just don't get it. And again, I'm a teacher, and then I know we're going to move on to some more sports stuff because we're pressed for time, but I'm a teacher. 90% of my kids are black. You think I give a freaking damn? I don't care. They're kids.
Why should you give a shit? They're kids, man. And they're looking to you for guidance.
Exactly. And they don't look at me like, oh, he's weird looking. It's
right.
It's all good. It's all good. The kids have fun. They love me. That's great. That's all we need.
And that's all. That's all you need. That's all you need. College football is back in play, and I've started to love a lot more college football than professional football. And the reason being is because of all the damn drama. You want some drama? Give me a game that's like in triple overtime and the team that has the ball needs a touchdown to win. That's the only kind of drama I like, man.
Yeah, I do like that. That's pretty fun. That is pretty fun, I'm not going to lie. Maybe they can move it back to the 35-yard line or something like that. But
maybe.
Overall, yeah, pretty fun.
So who are you watching in college football this year? Who are your teams? Talk to me.
Well, I've kind of converted to the Hurricanes down here, now that I moved down to South Florida. So, that turnover change is kind of going on other people's necks now. They're not doing so well.
Right.
But, in college has never been my biggest thing, whether it's basketball or football, to be honest with you. I've always liked two teams. I've always liked the Wolverines. I've always liked Michigan. And I've always liked Syracuse because they were basically the only college in the state of New York.
The Orangemen. And yes, it's Orangemen, okay?
Right.
It's the Syracuse. It ain't the Syracuse Orange as far as I'm concerned. I'm old school. It's the Syracuse Orangemen.
I love it, right? Just keep the names and nobody take offense. Come on, they're just names. It's all good.
And for me, I'm here in Carolina, so I got a little thing for the Tar Heels because I'm right in the Piedmont. I got Chapel Hill on one side, Durham in the middle, and Raleigh on the other side. So I got the Wolfpack, the Tar Heels, and the Blue Devils. But being from Chicago, I will always love my Northwestern Wildcats.
Northwestern, there you go. And they tend to surprise people some years. They really do.
Yeah.
They had that pretty good quarterback who came out this year, right?
Yep, Clayton Thorson.
There you go.
Clayton Thorson. He was drafted by the Eagles. So what do you think our 49ers are going to do this year, man? I said this on my program, and yeah, it's a hot take, and yeah, it's a crazy take, but I say two things about the 49ers this year: 11-5 and division champions.
Really, huh? Wow, I love that optimism. Wow, I wish there's something that could rub off on me, bro. Because I know they're facing a hell of a lot of odds with the Rams and the Seahawks in front of them. The Cardinals are busy rebuilding, but if Garoppolo stays healthy, that offense is going to be absolutely dynamic. I sure hope so, because he's shown us that he has the talent to do it right. He's played 7 games in the NFL or 8, whatever. But yeah, so he's shown the ability. It's natural for him to have jitters coming back in, the first and second preseason game. He's got to get comfortable. It takes a little bit of time, especially being a quarterback in the NFL.
Oh yeah.
Behind a decent offensive line. Our guys are aging a little bit over there. Joe Staley's got to be like 50 already. So,
and he's wearing Steve Wallace's old number.
Yeah, man.
Number 74.
I love how much you remember what you know. It's great. So, I do see the 49ers obviously improving because we have a better quarterback situation. I don't love our receivers. I think that Pettis can make a lot of kind of like Julian Edelman type of plays, things like that, obviously, Goodwin, he can run, forget about it. He's probably the fastest guy in the league.
Right.
So I'm looking forward to things from him. The thing that, I like Matt Breida. I certainly like him a lot. Tevin Coleman, I'm a little on the fence with him. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
The thing that I love about the 49ers, though, and why I think that they have the ability to at least be a 500 team, and I'll be honest, I don't think they go into the playoffs this year. I think they need maybe another year. But that defense, especially up front,
dynamite.
They have some tough, big mofos, man. They are big guys, and they can rotate, too.
Yeah.
Now that they got Bosa, forget about it. These guys are going to stay fresh, rotate in. We're going to get a lot of sacks this year.
Defense is going to really be a story in San Francisco, and you're right. 500 seems more like a reasonable goal for San Francisco. Like I said, I've been a 49er fan since Montana hit Dwight Clark in the back of the end zone to beat the Cowboys in 1981. Okay,
best moment in football history, right there.
That's when football was football. And since we're talking about the 49ers, I said this during the off season. There are 2 players that played with the 80s with the team in the 80s that should have a spot in the Hall of Fame, and they don't, because I don't know why they don't have a spot in the Hall of Fame, because they made a great impact with the 49ers. One of them is Roger Craig. The other is John Taylor.
So fun. Wow. John Taylor, for sure. Of course, he gets overshadowed because of Jerry Rice.
Right.
But don't forget, John Taylor's the one who made that. I know you don't forget. John Taylor's the one who made that game-winning touchdown catch from Montana in the Super Bowl against the Bengals.
Yep, Super Bowl 23.
Taylor, definitely underrated. He's kind of like an Alvin Harper guy with Michael Irvin next to him sort of thing. But Taylor, and Roger Craig, again, he's the original LaDainian Tomlinson, Marshall Faulk, Thurman Thomas.
He's the original. He's the original Swiss Army knife back.
Exactly.
And Marshall
he
Faulk,
really is.
and nothing against Marshall Faulk. Loved watching Marshall Faulk play, but Marshall Faulk gets celebrated for an achievement Roger Craig did well before him, and that's 1,000 yards rushing and 1,000 yards receiving in the same season. Everybody wants to bring up, Marshall Faulk did that. Yeah, here's the point. Roger Craig did it first.
Right, and he did it first, and he did it a long time ago, and even when it was harder because the defenses didn't have as many rules against they do now.
Right.
And you're talking about Joe Montana, who's got targets like John Taylor, who we just mentioned, Jerry Rice, the best of all time, Brent Jones, who's one of the best tight ends of all time. Yep. So he's got all these guys to throw it to, and still Roger Craig is catching passes out of the backfield and getting in the end zone.
And you know who else should get a vote for the Hall of Fame? Their fullback, Tom Rathman.
Oh, what? Absolutely. Oh, tough as nails, Tom Rathman. No doubt about it. He led the way. That's a great call.
To have players like Rathman and Craig and Taylor omitted from the Hall of Fame is a travesty.
I agree. It really is. I understand they don't want to put all the same players in from the same team.
Right.
But come on, those guys are Hall of Famers individually.
They made an impact.
Without a doubt.
I'll give you two more fullbacks who should have their day in the Hall of Fame, and they won't. Matt Suhey and Darryl Johnston.
Oh, yeah, Darryl Johnston. To me, it's amazing that he's not in the Hall of Fame. It really is, with the 3 titles that they got, and he really was a fantastic fullback. Emmett Smith calls him like basically his brother from another mother. He's all the time the number one guy that he mentions, even behind that giant offensive line. He says without Moose Johnston, it wouldn't have happened.
Was Moose?
It's amazing.
I love them. I'm not a Cowboy fan, but I love that '90s team. Emmett Smith, Michael Irvin, Troy Aikman. Yeah, but my favorite guy on there was the Moose.
I loved him, and because those guys again were real football players. Michael Irvin was the unquestioned leader of that team. He brought them together as fiery as he was. Yep, they were a heck of a team with a heck of a coach, and that seems to be a wonderful combination these days.
Oh man, they need to let these players in the Hall of Fame. And before we close, a question for the fans, and you can tweet the show at SNWMN Unfiltered. Do you think that folks like Darryl Johnston, John Taylor, Tom Rathman, and Roger Craig deserve their spot in the Hall of Fame? As a matter of fact, I'll put it in form of this. Which player do you believe should be in the Hall of Fame that isn't? We gave you a few here. How about your own? Let us know. Jason Feirman, Root for Sports. A pleasure always, my brother. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Snowman. I love coming on your show. You're absolutely one of my favorites, if not. I hope not that everybody heard that right there, but I love coming on your show, man. You're definitely one of the tops out there, and you run it as good as anybody does on any one of those 4-letter shows or anything on TV. You do a fantastic job, man.
Much appreciated.
Love talking sports with you, man. We'll do it again soon.
What a job on Snowman Unfiltered this week. I want to thank everybody for being patient with me. Dr. K, my wonderful sound engineer, Michael Beebe, my other sound engineer, both of them as our producers as well, along with Dean Peretta, and my wonderful guest, Jason Feirman, for jumping on to talk some sports and some life. It's the best of both worlds, and you get it every week here on Snowman Unfiltered. Wednesdays, 8 p.m., the new podcast will drop. Check us out on your favorite app, including Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Radio Public, Pocket Cast, wherever you can find us. And the new website is live as well, Snowman Unfiltered. Check it out, snowmanunfiltered.com. I love it. I absolutely love y'all. Thanks to the people who checked us out on our Facebook page as well as our Twitter page, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, Snapchat, and all of our social media. The ID you need is SNWMN Unfiltered. That SNWMN Unfiltered. My time is up. Hope y'all enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed bringing it to you. We'll be back next week with another wonderful guest. And the title says it all, Snowman Unfiltered. Until next week, have a great day. God bless. Remember to make your next move your best move. And always remember, if your dreams don't scare you, then they are not big enough. Dream big, do bigger. I am, and I hope y'all are too. Until next week, I love you. Snowman out.